how these academics use to determine whether it's been plagiarized or not, there's software like Turnitin.
Yeah.
Which is you just plunk in the assessment and it might tell you which parts are plagiarized. That one also got margin of error.
And it's kind of crazy that students now has to have tools or apps that like do time lapse of their typing. I'm like, huh? Wow, that's the equivalent to wearing a police body cam as a student like that.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
If you type too fast,
AI robot. And I think they need to have clearer guidelines for the use of AI in courses, but also clearer guidelines for when students complain about being unfairly critiqued or judged for the use of AI, right? There needs to be a very clear process of how the student can argue against that. If you love this podcast, chances are that you value real, authentic conversations. Now imagine a conversation like that about someone you love. And that's what we do with our service called Folklory. We hop on a 30-minute call with you or someone you choose and turn that conversation into a beautifully crafted, personalized podcast for your loved one. A gift that shows how much they mean to you, that they can listen to forever. We'll use everything we've learned from interviewing more than 1,000 people across 20 countries over the past 5 years, including the Prime Minister of Singapore, and help you create one of the most meaningful things you've ever given them. And if you want to make it extra special, add on our limited edition Folklory speaker, styled as an old school cassette tape, so they can play their story anytime, anywhere. So check it out on folklory.com or reach out to us on WhatsApp at the link in the show notes. And now, onto the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man. How was the weekend?
Very rejuvenating. I think Saturday we spent it mostly at Capitol Theatre.
Yeah.
For the show, right?
Yeah.
2 shows.
Two shows,
and the
man.
night show.
Yeah.
How do you feel after that, man?
Tired. Definitely. But still, it's the first time we've ever performed in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right? So that was an interesting experience. And, it felt like we are getting into the groove of things. The crowd on the afternoon was better than what I thought, or what I had heard matinee shows tend to be. Saturday night was great. So, fun.
Yeah. And just understanding the adrenaline that comes with doing live comedy or live shows in general, right? There's you might not be tired because you're hiking or on a production or anything like that, but you're tired because of that adrenaline, right? That comes in and you're tensing up before the performance, and then after that you need a while to decompress before everything comes back down. Then the next thing you're doing another show already. So I think that's what's making us feel quite fatigued, even though most of the time we're sitting around waiting for things. Right?
And I never understood that because I know, even right now, because I was asking the other comedians also, do you still feel nervous before you go out? They say, of course, our nerves are part of it.
Yeah.
Because even by Saturday night, it was our 4th show. Still felt like before go on, you're like, okay, you do this, because of the live audience. And like what you said, I think even my throat was acting up, and at the end of the day our set is like 12-15 minutes. We generally talk for a living, but my voice was feeling damn strained. And speaking to one of the performers, Broadway Bing, who's been singing for like 25 years, he said actually to him talking is more tiring than singing, because when he sings it all comes from the diaphragm, which is what I don't understand. But he even demonstrated you can tell the difference and he says English is damn bad for the vocal cords.
Because of the intonation.
That kind of shit like that. So and just watching these people perform every day, they've been doing it for so many times. It's quite cool.
Yeah, and you understand why performers need their creature comforts. We always bitch about people being divas, like wow, they want honey, water, or sushi only for their meals. I kind of understand now, right? When your whole performance banks on you feeling like 100% and all, you don't want to mess around with that formula that works, right? You need this, you need that, and you need it so that you can deliver 100% to your audience as well.
Yeah.
So what is the most diva thing that you've been asking for these couple of days?
Okay, so I was just going to say, I think there's a difference between diva and diva. Honey water, I think not diva level yet. I think the diva is like the one that nobody else can be in the room at the same time.
I've heard this. Because someone's vegan, the whole room cannot have leather in it, like even the chairs and everything.
Yeah.
That's a bit much.
That one diva. And you can expect that also comes from someone who like is world famous lah. So that one feels like a diva. My request is this time, just like I guess have a vegetarian meal on Tuesday lah. That's my only diva request.
Yeah, it's not
which they have.
It's not that difficult.
For you?
Yeah. For me, diva. Nothing much. Yeah. Generally, I think. But I see the importance of doing little things like blotting your face, making sure your hair is like untouchable, that kind of thing. Like, maybe there's one thing. Like cannot touch the hair and all that. Not that we are doing a lot, but I understand why. Like you need it to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And as the day progresses, it can change.
But I'm glad you realized just now when you said that sometimes it might sound a bit much, but because as a performer, you only have a few minutes to do your job, right? So I hope you re-look back at that incident where you saw me walking in the sun with someone holding an umbrella.
Oh, that's diva lah. That's diva. Demanding that someone held a pink umbrella, pink fluffy umbrella for you.
So for context, this was on the HBO shoot in 2016, and it was a damn hot day.
Yeah.
And I had to shoot a scene in the sun.
Yeah.
So just so happened, Terence came and he saw me walking with someone who was holding an umbrella for me lah.
Picture this, a white bathrobe, Harish in a white bathrobe. I can't remember if your hair was done up or what.
I think it was done
white
up,
bathrobe, and then like
bathrobe slippers.
Slippers, and assistant carrying a pink umbrella running after you.
Yeah, and I saw Terence looking at me from a distance with his face. I was like, okay, this guy is not going to let it down. And it's true lah. 9 years later, you still hold that lah. But the context is, if I was sweating like crazy, right?
Yeah.
When I'm on camera, it'll be very glistening.
Correct. But there are also makeup artists who help you patch that up and everything. They'll run after you and patch it up.
Yeah, they will. But the less sweat is always a good thing there.
Well, I know.
I'm glad now you're slowly realizing that, as an actor, you just have a few minutes, you just have a few minutes.
Different.
Within practical means, certain times an umbrella in the sun can help lah.
Correct lah, yeah. So I mean, I hope next time you hold an umbrella lah, and not need someone to hold it for you. Your hand needed like to rest. Is it? You need to rest your hand for something.
I offered to hold the damn umbrella, okay, but the PA said, okay, no, let me just hold the umbrella. So at the end of the day, like I'm not I'm not gonna argue to hold an umbrella.
Yeah. So I think the umbrella is fine, bathrobe is fine, slippers fine. It's just who's holding it. Maybe that was like the big. Like, who is this guy?
I offered to hold. And Terence, I trust you. Yeah. You know me well enough to know that I did offer the umbrella. Okay, I got nothing to prove. I got nothing to prove that I did it, but I did lah.
No, I think there was just a bit of the flex lah, because you knew that we were outside there. Then you were like, hey, someone hold umbrella for me, hold umbrella. Let me walk out.
See, this is you. All these thoughts in your head, no, Terence. All just thoughts. But yeah, we still got 5 more shows. You can still get tickets. I think the ones maybe closer to the weekend might be a bit harder, but still try if you want.
Yeah.
We still have the discount code at the link which we'll put in the show notes.
Yeah.
And I mean, so far the reviews and all have been great.
Yeah.
We're having a great time. So yeah, come join us.
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
Don't miss out.
Don't miss out. 8 p.m. at Capitol Theatre.
Yeah. I think the big difference between like even our live podcast recordings and this is that this really is like a show, right? The express intent is to entertain you for 2 hours or whatever, right? And there's nothing that every pause, every transition is so meticulously choreographed that you might not even realize how much time has passed by the end of the show, right?
Yeah.
Whereas our podcast is much more, you're just chilling with us and we're just feeling the vibes and all. This one is not.
And our podcast is 2 of us the whole time.
Yeah.
This one, there are 10 acts and definitely something for everyone. So yeah, cool, man.
Cool.
We still have shit to talk about.
Yes, still ongoing 3 times a week. But before we go into that, what do we always tell people?
That if you are new or old to the podcast and you want to catch more than just these long form episodes, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Reddit for various reasons. They all have different kinds of content formats. And leave us a review on Spotify. Just a 5-star review would be great. And just follow us everywhere because we also have a newsletter that you can subscribe to on our website.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot more content that we're trying to create. So please check us out.
Yeah. And if you want to reach out to us, email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just check out ministryoffunny.com.
Sweet. Okay. All right. So first piece of news.
Yeah.
There was an article being written about an ongoing case at NTU between a professor, or basically the school and a handful of students. Basically, as of a few days ago, the NTU has confirmed that 3 students got 0 marks for an assignment after they were found to have used generative AI in their work. So basically, they were penalized for academic misconduct. They were given a 0 mark and basically a permanent academic fraud record. Which I mean is quite serious. So it was a module on health, disease, outbreaks, and politics. They were investigated in April. And it all started, I think, one of the students posted on Reddit, and then that got traction. And then there was more developments, and then NTU had a response. I think there was a second Reddit post, and then NTU had a response, and then there's a lot of chatter online. So when you saw this, Terence, as someone who always scoffs when I mention AI, what made you want to talk about this?
Well, as someone who does use AI at work, but I scoff at excessive users of AI. That's what I scoff at. Let's frame it correctly. I scoff at excessive users of AI. Did feel a bit, I mean, at first I was like, this bloody students must have been, talking, right? How to do work properly, just generate everything. But beyond the headline, when you read further into it, it turns out it does seem like there's more to Meets AI than what the headline suggests. That it's not about them just using AI to write papers for them. But it's actually seemingly more trivial users of AI that they have come back to bite them in the butt now, which is like ask whether people are overzealous in policing the use of AI in academia.
So initially when I read the article, because it even say 2 admitted to using Gen AI tools, while the third claimed to be unaware that the platform they use, which markets itself as an AI-powered essay writing service, fell under the category. When I read that, I was like, same thought . Hey, the students don't try and play like, I did the I don't know card . But basically, right, some of the details that stood out once you go into the nitty-gritties is that the fraud was over citation-related issues, which is, I believe, just typos in the list of citations. And despite appeals by the students and documentation showcasing even a time-lapse video of one of the students' writing process, which was provided by a Chrome extension called Draft Draft Back. It records your writing process. There was no appeal given, or no hearing given, or the appeal wasn't even considered. So basically, it feels like for one part, which was the citation thing, I think one of them used this tool to kind of consolidate citations and arrange them in a certain order, and there was a typo there. And because of that, they got 0 marks. So when you look at that, I'm sure this discussion is going to carry on. I'm sure NTU is going to have a response to whatever response comes out. But it does feel like, oh shit, is this just more a case of people not understanding or taking a very hard-handed approach on AI?
I mean, because I think for those people, maybe we've been removed from university for so long, right? I mean, now that we have been out of university for so long and, we've been working for that long already, honestly, does GPA matter very much? Like, even if your GPA is not the best?
I mean, I think, okay, based on the Reddit post, who talked about was it his or her? I'm not so sure. But the GPA was highlighted, that the score has been decreased, and also I feel like it still matters.
No, but for you, day to day, does GPA matter?
What I got.
What do you think? No, what do you think about GPA these days, Like, was it important what you, like in day to day work, outside of school already, do you think GPA matters a lot to employers and everything?
In this day and age, I would say GPA is a metric that, let's say if I look at a resume, if someone has like a perfect GPA, I'll be like, oh, okay, let me see what was it about. So I would say it's a metric. Metric for you?
I think it's not that important. In fact, someone who has a perfect GPA or very high GPA during university, to me, now I look at it as like, maybe you studied too hard. Maybe you didn't do enough of the important things that we now know are important in university, like partying with, the right people, building contacts, and just, enjoying life before you burn out when you're working or whatnot. But I think this issue beyond the GPA is actually very serious because of the assigning them as academic frauds, right?
Yeah.
I think that actually has longer lasting impact than a lousy GPA.
Yeah.
I mean, as recently as I think 2024, the then Harvard president had to step down because of allegations of plagiarizing for her research papers back in the day, right? So I think especially if you're going to go into academia or a government job or something where integrity, is a very, very big part of assessing your academic integrity is a very big part of assessing your value and all that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's very bad. So for those who think that, they're making mountain out of molehill, the results don't matter that much anyway. It does matter, I think, in terms of if there's a permanent mark on your integrity. So that said, when you see the citation thing, do you think that the citation issue is so serious that it deserves such scrutiny?
No, if it is just a citation thing. Okay, so first of all, apparently the professor's briefing slides to students, right?
Yeah.
It mentioned, and I guess, and I quote, the use of ChatGPT and other AI tools are not allowed in the development or generation of the essay proposal or the long essay. So that was really put out. I mean, I think that disclaimer itself is a little too broad and generic. Because it feels like one of those how militant are you going to be about this, given that it is almost already part of the education these days, and I think even in 2024, all the universities kind of they agreed that AI tools will be allowed for assignments, but must stick to rules, But it feels like the rules need to be a bit more specific. So already it felt like, oh, that's very broad. Of course, we don't have access to the slides. We don't know what else was covered. And then if it's just for the citation thing, that feels a bit ridiculous. I don't know. I know citations are super important. I know last time when the few classes I needed to do where I was writing citations, but it was always like an afterthought.
Yeah. You'll finish everything first, then 2 hours before you submit, then you just...
I mean, one of your degrees was psychology, right? A lot of papers to be written. So you're probably a lot more experienced with citations.
Yeah, they're important. Especially, I would say, I had a brief time when I was considering academia as a career, in psychology or something. And I think that's when I realized, I cannot make it in academia because of this level of scrutiny that comes with things like citations and being so that almost militant, right, about these things. And I get why. I get why, because in academia also there's only that many, like what you say, metrics that you can use to judge someone's worth, right? So if they're making mistakes left, right, center with their citations and all, it kind of maybe also tells you that this person is not cut out for that kind of academia, the rigor of academia. So citations are important, they're important. But I did want to ask also, given that you've had the experience of studying in Singapore and the US, right? Do you think there could be a difference in terms of how strictly some of these rules are perceived, right? Because, I mean, in Singapore, generally we're, rule-abiding society. I've been in situations, not in university, but in before university, where a teacher says something, then you dispute them about it, and it's a grey area. But
in Singapore?
Yeah. You dispute them, then after that you kena scolded, right? Not because of the strength of your argument or what, but because disagreeing with the teacher is frowned upon, right? But do you feel that there's a difference when you went to the US and you studied in a university there versus what you experienced in Singapore education system?
I mean, I have to caveat that was how many years ago? 15, 16 years ago. So I'm going to compare based on what I recall back then. Now very different. I mean, it did feel... It felt, Singapore, the rules a bit more black and white and a bit more... less leeway to challenge. I mean, I have to give specific examples. And I don't know how it is now, because now it almost feels like in the US, especially for some of the more left-leaning universities, it might be even more stringent than Singapore. So but for you?
I think in the US, I think I discovered how the universities in the US really encourage you to just talk, right? To really just talk through your issues or whatever. Maybe it's our university, maybe it's a style of a more liberal arts kind of education. But I remember I was very shocked at one point because I had an issue with completing a certain deadline for a research project, right? And I just went to the professor in charge at the point in time and was just very honest that, I don't think I'll be able to complete this research thing, before the end of the semester. And if you need to kick me out of the program or whatever, I'm prepared for it. And I think it was just a very short meeting, like half an hour. But then after that, we just spent like 15 minutes just looking through the rest of my academic career, like what I had been doing the past few years. Then he suddenly discovered that I had completed a course that already fulfilled the research requirement needed for this course that I was doing. And he's like, you know what? Actually, you don't need to do this anymore. Yeah, I think you can complete this course based on that. So I was like,
and you had no idea.
I had no idea. I was ready to just drop me from kick me out of the course. I don't, I screwed up. I didn't do it properly. Whatever. But he was the one who helped me dig up you had done something that already fulfills the requirements of the thing. So yeah, congratulations, you're done this semester.
Oh shit. You walk out in slow-mo, everything.
Yeah, I walk out, I was like, what the hell just happened? So yeah, there's this, I did feel for the first time there was an understanding that, as a student or, potential student of academia, or that I might actually go into academia one day, that, these things are important in terms of the mark that they leave on your record, right? And is there a way to work with you to try and find a way not to cheat you into the system? Because I actually did the work prior. It's just that I did not realize that I had done it before already, right? But they just help you sort of look through your thing, and they're not out there to sabo you to make you fail your course or anything like.
Yeah.
And that's something I did see on some Reddit responses to these students complaining that the culture in the local universities or something is a bit closer to what we experience in secondary school or JC, right? Where it's very hard and fast rules about passing or failing. If not, it's not fair, it's not fair. And then after that, people complain that I get in trouble, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
As opposed to, okay, understand your predicament, but let's see what we can do to help you.
Actually, that reminded me of something that happened during an exam, like a midterm test for this course on thermodynamics. I really cannot remember what the hell it was about, but I remember I had been messing up the previous few midterms, and I realized, okay, this is my one shot at salvaging something.
Yeah.
So I studied damn hard.
Yeah.
And then during the test, I think there was something wrong with my printout or something where I couldn't read something, and I asked the teaching assistant, is this supposed to be this or this? And then she told me like A lah. And then after that, I was like, okay, this is a bit weird, but okay, I did A. So it turns out after that, talked to my friends and all, it was B.
Oh, okay.
Then I was like, hey, what? I had a feeling it was B, but...
So the printout was the issue.
There was something where I was like, okay, it feels like this should be it. I was like, hey, come on. So after the exam, I went back to the TA and I said, okay, are you sure this is it? Because it's supposed to be B. And then she took a bit more time to read it and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. So what she did, she just said, I'm going to give you 10 minutes now. Are you willing to do it now? I said, yes, please.
So on the spot, this was after the exam? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I did the 10 minutes and I did it correctly. So that one, right, I can imagine a lot of people taking issue with it. But then to me, I'm like, okay, here is someone who I felt didn't penalize me for her mistake.
Yeah.
Didn't take it up to the administration.
Yeah.
Of course, people will say you should have more conviction, but I just crammed the whole last night, and I really appreciated that because that helped me salvage something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hearing you say it, I was like, hey, actually, that one felt like this could have been solved there. In the end, I'm not gonna go tell my friend, hey, I got 10 minutes more,
Yeah.
because I felt wrong,
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Yeah. So that's emblematic of what the relationship between the teaching staff or the faculty and the students are, right? Where it's much more, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say lenient, but I would say nurturing, right? They understand that there are challenges as a student. Of course, there'll be these people who try to cheat the system and all that, right? But for the most part, they try to give you benefit of a doubt, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, I did feel quite strange that there was one point where it felt like one of the students said like the professor accepted the explanation about the citations, but then the bureaucracy of the school actually turned around and gave a 0 for basically rejected the professor's decision and then turned around and gave the student a 0, which I found quite shocking, because if the professor is the one already saying that generally, okay, I'll just deduct 10 marks, I won't give you a 0. And the school turns around and gives you a 0. I mean, it really sounds like crazy bureaucracy, right? And the school is out to get you at it.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, this is hearing the account of the student, which we're taking it at face value. But it does feel like the power balance also a bit different, because like the example in the US, maybe the TA also knew if I wanted to blow this up, she is screwed.
Yeah.
Because there, maybe as a student, you have a bigger voice.
Perhaps.
So it became like, okay, then it helps in this one. But this one, it felt like even trying to reschedule it before the admission deadline and all, felt a bit like there was no chance at all. And this is not a problem in just Singapore. There's a lot of articles out there about how other students abroad have been screwed over by the system, because how these academics used to determine whether it's been plagiarized or not, there's software like Turnitin. Which is you just plunk in the assessment and it might tell you which parts are plagiarized. That one also got margin of error.
Yeah, there's margin of error.
Right. So it feels like you're trying to combat AI using AI, but you are not accepting the margin of error for the perpetrator, but you're okay using yours. So this one feels like, oh shit, is the old guard not doing this right?
Yeah. I mean, we haven't even talked about the question of the use of AI in academics, right? I mean, can anybody escape the use of AI in their day-to-day jobs already? I don't think you can already, right?
Yeah.
So what are we also teaching our students about? You cannot use AI at all for this course, right? As opposed to trying to frame it a certain way. I think when Jamus Lim came on our show, he talked about how all his exams are completely open book already for his students, because it's not about who can regurgitate better, but it's more about how you process the information and produce something that is that is very clearly your original thought. That's what's difficult these days. And I think his point is that you need to restructure your questions or your exam style to fit that future, right? So I also find it crazy that that there's any kind of course that just mandates you cannot use AI for anything at all.
I mean, I think if they want to mandate, then it make it then I think the restrictions have to be a lot more robust. Because this one, reading from the slide, not allowed ChatGPT and other AI tools. Fuck man, got how many AI tools, right? Even Gmail has AI now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Are not allowed in the development or generation of the essay proposal or the long essay. That one feels a bit all-encompassing.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy that students now have to have tools or apps that do time-lapse of their typing. I'm like, huh? Wow, that's the equivalent to wearing a police body cam as a student at that.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
If you type too fast,
AI robot.
If you write in your notepad and you copy over to Google Doc, no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Because, I mean, the AI thing, even WhatsApp has AI now.
Exactly.
You just ask a question.
Sometimes you accidentally press also is AI already, right?
Yeah, that's
ask for it.
And, I mean, then if it becomes idea generation, you can get a lot of original sounding ideas if there's just a few prompts in ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I do now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just need a seed of something. Sometimes I just need just give me 100 possibilities of this, and then one of it feels like, then you build on that
Yeah.
So this one also feels like, shit, if it can be a very dangerous thing for professors and academic institutions
Yeah, and I think they need to have clearer guidelines for the use of AI in courses, but also clearer guidelines for when students complain about being unfairly critiqued or judged for the use of AI, right? There needs to be a very clear process of how the student can argue against that, an appeals process and some kind of committee that responds quickly also. It can't be it take months or what, because by then the student's academic career is over already. And like I mentioned, the stain of academic fraud can last for very long.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because if I were to see it on a resume, to me, that would stand out a lot more than GPA.
Integrity. GPA is okay lah, you got lazy, whatever, I don't care, but your argument fraud's a problem.
Those lawyers that were accused of cheating.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Complete stain already, right?
Stain, yeah.
And that was not AI related, right? That was COVID.
I don't think so. I think it was just
that was different. That was COVID.
Yeah.
They were doing remote exams or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh, this AI thing,
yeah.
Tricky, yeah. Next time, can you imagine we do a pitch and then be like, the idea of you, this person falling in love with a terrorist is ChatGPT.
Yeah. Or even now, like, we do our stand-up comedy, our comedy show that people like, oh, there's joke from AI, ChatGPT.
You're not funny. If I put in the prompts also, you can give me the same joke.
I can easily be funnier than you, that kind of thing. That was so funny.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why it's important we swear on this podcast.
Why?
Because you think about it, people can technically duplicate our voice now, right? Then the swearing thing, unless there's some ChatGPT it's some AI tool that can replicate with swear words. Yeah. Swear words keep it real, man.
I think it's so basic. Swear words is like the easiest thing to replicate.
No, the way you say with the Singlish swear words and all, the intonations and all. Maybe there's not enough large learning models that have that,
No, cannot. It's what ChatGPT cannot duplicate is the tension that people have been feeling in the podcast. A lot of people come out to you complain about tension, right?
This is terrible. So mean to you, terrible.
They say to you, because they don't want you to blow up. And then later they come to me, they're like, this Terrence, this Harish are damn sensitive.
There's not been one instance of that. There have been instances of people. I'm sure anyone come up to you say, hey, the tension the past few episodes.
Got lah. Even the comedian, I think Jackie also was like, hey, what happened? You all like don't want to do it here. Like that lah, right?
Yeah. Funny, yeah.
But that's one thing that I think listening to like those Google AI made podcasts and all, there isn't tension in the speech.
Until someone programs it in.
Until someone programs it. But even then also, there's something in the voice.
The voice, the passive aggression through the voice.
Very sensitive. What? What you say about me again? That kind of feeling.
No, then no, I'm just saying, hey, don't be so defensive.
Logic. Calm.
Nonsense.
But people in NTU are not the only ones who are unhappy. There's also another group of people who we talk about quite a bit recently, right? But this one is another wing, another problem in the litany of problems that F&B operators are facing, right?
Yeah.
What is this problem?
It is the most recent article that again revisits the idea of home-based businesses and whether it is fair how some of them operate and whether they need to be more regulated, like how restaurants and current F&B outlets are.
Yeah.
And it's been a few weeks already. On earlier this year, from January itself, CNA published an article talking about, home-based businesses thriving, can they survive?
Yeah.
Last week, the Straits Times had an article, feels like cheating the system. Home-based food businesses stir debate amongst restaurant owners. Have been people posting on LinkedIn and Facebook, and it essentially revolves around the fact that F&B outlets feel that certain home-based businesses, food businesses specifically, are operating on the scale or level of restaurants and not being regulated. And even if they haven't reached that scale yet, they are not subject to any of the regulations that even the smallest F&B outlet is subject to.
Yeah.
Like, food safety and payroll and accounting and all that. So it's still a debate.
Yep.
But overall, like, what are your thoughts about how this is developing?
It's quite interesting because in the news articles that you mentioned, just the images alone of the home-based businesses, sometimes you look at them, you're like, huh? You mean this is a home-based business? You look at the living room, it looks like very ornate, very lavishly decorated, like Peranakan restaurant, that kind of thing. And then it says it can sit up to 60 people for private parties. So I'm like, 60 people in such a beautiful place? It's a home-based business. Then you hear of people with pizza ovens in their backyard and churning out like 200 pizzas a day.
Yeah.
That to me almost feels like it's almost a commercial level of F&B production already.
Yeah.
So on first glance, like just looking at the pictures, reading about the complaints of the F&B business owners, it does feel like, there is a very, very big loophole that nowadays home-based businesses seem to be exploiting.
Yeah. And I mean, the tricky thing is you have outliers like that, but you also have a lot of people who are just making like, pork bowls from home, scones, and all that on a level that still feels manageable. Lah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was also wondering, are there really no regulations at all? But basically, if you go to the Singapore Food Agency for the requirements for home-based food businesses, there are certain requirements. You don't need a license. But you are still supposed to comply with food laws. So basically, no fresh fish and all that. You cannot offer catering. You should not sell food to food retailers. Basically, if you make samosas at home, you cannot sell it to an Indian restaurant to sell to their customers. You cannot sell at temporary fairs, even if you get the license. I guess what they're trying to protect is like these home-cooked food from home-based businesses entering something that has already gone through a lot more regulation, right? And it's just like, okay, if you sell to people who come to your house, so be it. But there's nothing about the capacity and all that, like, because there's one home-based business that sells banh mi, the Vietnamese sandwich, that apparently has an hour-long wait.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In the HDB.
Yeah.
So there's nothing about how your footfall traffic must be, how you must manage your corridor.
Yeah.
And I think on a smaller scale, for those sort of home businesses, those are the issues that come into play. Whereas the bigger ones are like a restaurant.
Yeah. And I think, so after reading a bit more of the guidelines and the discussion about it, I did realize that actually maybe now the articles that are talking about this tend to be quite emotional, right?
Yeah.
Where F&B operators are using words like fairness, right, to describe to frame the discussion.
Yeah.
But actually, home-based businesses do have guidelines to follow, and if anything, I would summarize them as basically home-based business cannot operate at scale, whereas like your F&B business in a restaurant, brick and mortar store is allowed to operate at scale. Scale meaning, you can sell B2B, you can sell to food fairs, you can sell to other food retailers. And also scale in terms of production, you can hire external help, a lot more external help, right? You can use very big kitchen equipment in the space and all that. So you are allowed to do all this to achieve certain scale. Whereas like home-based businesses, like even if you make a damn good cocktail or a damn good whatever, you can only sell to individual consumers.
Yeah.
So there are guidelines and restrictions on what home-based businesses can or can't do that that on first glance when reading these articles it might not be very clear, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like they're operating on the same playing field, but actually it's slightly different.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you go to the fire safety,
Yeah.
there are some requirements for home-based businesses, which include like fire extinguishers and all.
Yeah.
So I think, like what you said, there's an emotional thing. And I think there was someone who posted on LinkedIn that I don't know was one of the first things to talk about this. He was a owner of this small bar, and he was saying that we are a small outlet and we are faced so much more scrutiny, and it's not fair for these home-based businesses. Like at first, right, I thought actually, it makes sense. These businesses, what's wrong with just getting a license or something like that? But then I remember when we started YouTube, our whole shtick with the bigger production houses and bigger this was like, okay, there's a lot of things that are not beneficial being an independent YouTuber.
Yeah.
So what we cherish is the freedom and the fact that we don't need to submit stuff for approval before we upload on YouTube.
Yeah.
And if we were to clamp down on that, then it would really be damn annoying, because as much as it gives us a lot more liberty to do stuff, there's so many things that are not beneficial, and you are this small ikan bilis in an ocean.
Yeah.
So same way, if there's going to be regulation for small scale home businesses, I think that will be terrible. And I think it comes down to scale. Feels like that's one of the big benchmarks, and it shouldn't be scale based on PSF, because if you're in a bungalow, you give 200 pizzas a day, you can argue that but it's a bigger space compared to HDB. But I think it should be the number of customers served.
Yeah.
Because that one thing that you said, the 60 people, right, is a residential shop house in town, and they charge 140 per person. So that's $8,400 per night.
Yeah.
And it can easily go past $1 million in revenue a year. That doesn't feel like a home-based business.
Yeah.
There are probably some outlets that sell F&B that is way less than that have been licensed.
Yeah. Plus also, like when you're serving 60 people in a house, right, every night, that also probably causes inconvenience to neighbors, right?
Yeah.
So I think also the zoning restrictions and things like that also need to be activated, People need to understand that if every night there's like a long line of cars or something parking outside your private estate, and it's because of the home-based business, then there's something off there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's this, I think the Zat from Peak wrote a very interesting perspective, right? About how he finds that the backlash against home-based business is very centered on fairness, when actually there are a lot of, like what I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of rules in place to prevent home-based businesses from doing what the F&B brick and mortar businesses do really. But I did, just to your point, right? I did think about, even what we are doing now, right?
Yeah.
Podcasts. And I think years ago, I listened to an interview with two very established radio DJs in Singapore, talking about podcasting, right? And sort of almost in a very similar angle, where they were saying that podcasts are, full of idiots and bullshit also, because they don't. There's no regulation required. Governance is so lax. I would quote the person.
You're looking at the quote.
Yeah, I listened a bit just now, and the quote directly is, governance is so lax. And they talked about how IMDA makes them sign these booklets, documents every 3 months, of what they can or can't do. And so they just complain about how podcasters don't know how to do their thing. And one day when they get regulated, all that, there's going to be trouble for them, all that. So I remember 4 years ago, I listened to that. I was like, this is exactly why we don't want to be like radio, right?
Yeah.
And 4 years later, I listened to it, and even in the wake of this election, where Yalabat, was front and center in many ways in how people process the election, right? I hear these things also. People are saying, hey, regulation at some point is going to come for us, and maybe we should preempt it by setting up an organization and things like that, And these things, and they're not just suggestions from people, from random people. They're suggestions from people in our industry itself, right? Which I find a bit like, whoa, like, why is this rush to make fairness the priority for everything, right? When actually podcasts are very, very different medium from radio, right? We don't have the scale and the resources of radio. We're a small team. We don't have the airwaves that are just beaming us out to cars at all times at any time, right? And it is very unfair to be judging them based on these, on the same metrics, right? The same scale, same metric. So in some ways, that's why I when I read Zat's article, I was like, oh, okay, I get the frustration that these F&B operators have about things, but maybe it's not about looking at who's below you, but looking at what's above you, right? And see how do you either rise to such a level that people don't even want to try home-based businesses because they love your F&B experience so much, right? As opposed to thinking how to regulate the home-based businesses below us to make it so that everyone is fair, we all suffer together.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that.
Yeah.
So that's where I just reading a bit more, I'm like, actually, do we want our scene to be more regulated?
Yeah.
Less vibrant, less interesting, or in for safety reasons or whatever, right? There's something I think we need to think about.
Because imagine how cool would it be in a housing estate or something. You have a pretty vibrant home-based network.
Yeah.
Home-based business network, right?
Yeah.
Which I also think is super cool. And I mean, of course, for these F&B operators, I'm sure someone are thinking, fuck, when we wanted to do this was not even an option.
Yeah.
So now it's unfair. Yeah. But then I think home-based businesses have been allowed since 2003.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me just confirm that the home-based scheme, it was introduced in the 1980s. So it's one of those things that has always been there. So for anyone who, because I know some people also who want to start a cafe, for them is the first thing must be a brick and mortar thing.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, why? I thought the home-based business was a very recent thing, but no. Since the 1980s, the home-based business scheme, which is overseen by HDB and URA, allows for small home-based businesses.
Yeah.
I think even if a few years later was when they allowed home-based food businesses, it's still very long ago. Then when it comes to but on the flip side, right? Okay, like if we talk about once it reaches a certain scale, then you can't operate anymore.
Yeah.
The problem is, how do we know whether it reaches a certain scale or not? And if that requires businesses to be registered, that feels like it's going to open the floodgate of regulation. Because, I mean, some people were interviewed in some other articles also saying that the home-based business, the reason they started it is because maybe they have some commitment at home, they have a bit more flexibility, and it's almost they don't want to go beyond a certain scale.
Yeah.
Because they can operate it within their own rules. The moment they take on like a lease, a space has so many different things.
Yeah.
So for them, maybe like they don't even want to reach that scale. But then if you're saying everybody must sign up and register, right? It feels like, oh, is that going to be like a wave of regulation? Because I don't think it'll just end like, okay, we just register, you do your accounting, we know how much you're making.
Yeah.
So that's why it feels like, how is this going to sort itself out?
Correct. I think and examples might not be exact parallels. Like, just talking about podcasting versus radio as an example, right? I think, for example, this election, the only reason that we could talk very freely about what we want to do, about what our thoughts were, and we could do what we wanted to do, is because we're not like taking funding from the government, right? Like SPH Media or something like that.
Yeah.
We're not taking funding from them to conduct a roundtable, which was terrible. But if we were to one day, get funding to conduct the next roundtable and all that, there would be these regulations, and that is like something that we just have to accept as is just what we have to do if we want to be playing at that level, right?
Yeah.
But at this point, if I'm totally against like any kind of like regulation that needs to be put on like podcasting. But I also acknowledge that F&B is slightly different also, where F&B could literally, if there's food poisoning and everything, could lead to someone's death, right? Yeah. So there are things in place, but I'm sure there can be some kind of other frameworks laid out, especially with regards to zoning issues. Like if a place is an area of residence, should there be people constantly parking outside by the road, illegal parking and everything, because they're coming to eat at your home-based business, right? Or having long queues outside where everyone's
HDB corridors.
Yeah, HDB corridors where everyone's safety and just the space around your house is compromised because of that.
So then how to regulate that if it's not licensed?
No, I mean by complaints from around the neighbors and everything.
So then you are encouraging complaining?
Encouraging? I mean, would you not want to at least there be an avenue for like complaints if things get out of hand?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know whether this is even possible, but you know how like there's one of those things that I mean, because right now the SFA website and the fire safety, they don't go into the details of like, clogging up HDB corridors and all. They just talk about, fire safety, you need to have an extinguisher. Maybe it just needs to be a bit more detailed.
Yeah,
so you're putting it out there, okay, you don't need to regulate, but we will do spot checks, or if we hear feedback, we will come down hard on you. Because the things that make it problematic are like, let's say a home business where there's a 1 hour wait, people lining up like crazy, or if you're on a landed estate, people parking illegally, you are responsible for that and you cannot shirk away from that. So it's just curbing those problematic, because I would hate it if people stop like this small scale home business, because it brings so much vibrancy. Even if it's a well done hall that looks like a bar, right? You're serving 5 people. I got no issues with that, man. In fact, I think it's damn cool. I myself have one of my dreams is to start like a masala tea thing from the home. And during COVID, my wife and I, we actually, like her salsa is damn good. We even give you a bottle.
Yeah, it was good.
Right, and we went for the SFA food training and stuff like that. But I mean, COVID opened up, things changed. But there's something very nice about that.
Yeah. So maybe there's some kind of more clearly defining some of these things. Like you cannot have more than 10 people queuing.
Something like that,
Like literally, like if they want to queue, they have to wait downstairs or something.
Then you force them to innovate. You just, I mean, maybe there's a collection point somewhere
collection
or something.
Points or something.
But requiring them to license and regulate, then it just is another step that would prevent people from wanting to start stuff.
Or just innovating at home, right?
Yeah, innovating at home.
We all know somebody in our families or who cooks a mean dish, right? Like a really good one that could easily rival their restaurants.
Yeah.
And maybe it starts from a home business, but after that it can grow into something bigger.
Yeah.
You don't want to cut it cut it off when it's just in its infancy.
Yeah. It almost feels like hawker used to be where you can find this unique home-based stuff. Now that's being kind of gentrified.
Yeah.
So you have to really go into the home.
Yeah, correct.
The home.
Because, and also just the evolving F&B experience in Singapore also, where it's not just about the quality of the food anymore, but maybe it's even about the experience, right?
Yeah.
Where, like you said, like you have a nice bar that can sit 5 people, or a nice living room that can sit 20 people. Maybe that's part of the whole experience that that people want, the intimacy, right?
Yeah.
That a restaurant can't provide.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's more vibrant, It's more vibrant, right? But yeah, feels like the two topics, both two sides of the same coin.
About
overregulation.
Overregulation, or understanding what the threat is, and like rather than thinking how to regulate it, it's thinking how to work with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But oh well.
But that's I mean, another F&B issue.
Yeah.
That just came up. But yes, what is your one Shiok comment?
I have a feeling we might have the one Shiok, one Shiok comment.
It's damn good.
So, it's amazing.
Go for it. I mean, we can just share the same one.
Share the same one. Because on the last episode, I think Terence accused me of hogging all the airtime on Yalabat. And he put out a suggestion that it's 70% of the time I'm talking versus 30% of the time he's talking.
Yeah.
And I, vehemently pushed back. And I said, at the very most, it's 60-40. So a very dedicated listener, Sarasti11.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for context, right? Because I tend to explain this shit, right? Then I suddenly got more airtime.
No. But I think there's more nuance than just the numbers, Harish. It's more nuance than the numbers.
Okay, so they tried to answer this question using the latest episode as an example. Realized that all AI tools can't just listen to the audio and all that, so they needed to generate the entire transcript, save that into a file, put that into ChatGPT. We talk about AI in the first topic, now literally AI.
Yep.
And then ChatGPT said there were 678 segments, out of which there were 250 that were unclassified. So even with the best effort classification prompt, they managed to still identify those belonging to me and Terence.
Yeah.
So that's the context. Terence, so this was on the last episode only.
Yeah, last episode.
So maybe you can share the results.
Yeah, the results, percent, Harish. The estimated percent of total speech is 60.6% from Harish and 39.4% from Terence, right? Yeah, just based on number of segments.
Yeah.
But granted, there are some segments that are unclassified. Fine. Okay.
Yeah.
We just take it as face value. The more interesting...
So basically, the airtime 60-40 closer to my estimate.
Correct. Yeah, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
It's fine. Yeah. Because I know the second part you are...
I'm not gonna be very upset that I guessed strongly, but at the end of the discussion, I said, ultimately, it's just you are majority, right? That's what I just said, right? Strong mandate majority.
Very different. 60% PAP vote versus 70% PAP vote. Very different implications. Yeah. But go on.
The most interesting column is the rightmost column, where the notes, they classify Harish's speech as, these are points, longer monologues, personal anecdotes, e.g., wife, kid driving, emotional storytelling tone. Right? That's your points. But for me, it says, my notes are, Terence often adds analysis and system critique, responds to Harish's stories, uses policy and logic framing. I mean, that's all I need to say there. That's like the ultimate mic drop, right?
Okay. So just for context, this was one episode where I did share a lot of my personal feelings and stories. And I will take it at that episode itself. Yeah, I would say, okay, I totally agree with this assessment.
Yeah. So generally, in social settings, especially with like smaller groups, I'm usually one of those who talks more, right? But it shows you here when I'm with you, I get drowned out. I just get drowned out by your monologues
But
and
less drowned out than you think.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I think that less drowned out than I think. But I even after forcing myself to fight back and respond to his stories, I only get a measly 39.4%. Literally 40%. One of the points is that I'm responding to your stories, and that forms 39%.
That was one episode, Terence.
Yeah.
Okay, one episode. So I would appreciate a larger sample size.
Sure.
Who knows, maybe it might push the percentage up to 70%.
Yeah.
But hopefully there will also be less making me sound just like a whiny person.
But I mean, funny also the next page about how the estimate was made.
Yeah.
They say that, this segments the speaker blocks, but then how they decide on the classification is that they use the cues or clues that what Harish is talking about. So the words very typically used by Harish are my wife, my kid, I enjoy, I love driving, to me, I feel. Long reflective stories, emotionally charged phrasing. It's all me, I, my story. I love, I feel. Whereas Terrence's clues are, I think, logically correct. We saw more analytical and policy commentary.
Fuck this, like.
Sorry, I mean...
This does not make me look good at all, man.
I mean, I'm barely even dramatizing this. You're not. It's all about you, Harry.
So thanks, Tristen 11. One Shiok comment, but make me sound like, whiny, hogging.
Narcissist.
Narcissist.
Self-centered. Narcissist. Emotionally driven. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's there. I can't refute.
Can't fight the AI.
I can't fight the AI.
But yeah, that was great.
Oh, someone literally put an example of emotionally charged phrasing. Hey, fuck you. Laughs. Which is literally what I just said like 10 seconds ago. Oh my God. But still, A for effort, man.
Yeah.
A for effort.
This is the right use of ChatGPT, of AI, right?
It's great. Yeah.
NTU needs to take a page from this.
Yeah, this is great. So, cheers, man. Tristen 11.
Yeah.
Cool. And what about your one Shiok thing, man?
Let me just pull it up, man. Oh, yeah, I got my... you can go ahead.
Yeah. My one Shiok thing, shit, where the hell did it go? It is, because, especially... I mean, not only because we have kind of like been talking to architects and engineers in the past few episodes. I mean, I just came across this channel because they had a recent video on why Singapore is building a mega port. This $15 billion mega port. The YouTube channel is called Mega Builds.
Yeah.
And it is just, they love to create content about the biggest, boldest, and most incredible construction projects on the planet. So they basically go quite detailed into, the ghost of the skies, the Hong Kong mega stadium, the largest stadium in the world, the crazy residential projects in the Middle East. And it's damn interesting because you read about them, but they offer some sort of commentary on it. And I mean, pretty big channel, like 1.47 million subscribers.
Yeah.
The video that came out yesterday, why Singapore is building this $15 billion mega port, came out, just yesterday. And they talk about Singapore's reclaimed land. And it's nice to see a non-Singaporean talk about something that's being done in Singapore. So pretty cool.
And where is this person from?
The US, I believe.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. What about you, man?
Mine is a Straits Times microsite. I know I bitch about mainstream media a lot, but this one I thought was pretty cool. It talks about, it's called Why Handwriting Matters. And it's a microsite that you go to and they actually try to explore generational differences in handwriting. So it's a site that, you scroll through and they will tell you about why Gen Z's handwriting is very different from boomers. And it goes a little bit into the, education differences between us and Gen Z's and us and boomers and all. But there's also a segment where you can actually test how you write certain letters, and they will tell you, generally where your handwriting lies. And so it kind of breaks down why there are generational differences in handwriting, how, the use of technology and AI has fed into how we think about handwriting, and what is considered nice handwriting today versus what was considered nice handwriting back then.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So it's a very interesting analysis.
So we should compare our handwriting with Tristen's also.
For sure, yeah. It could be interesting,
Could be interesting, Tristen.
But I think young people today don't even use a pen that much.
I mean, now every time I write, it's still like, every time I write, I'm like, oh shit, I got to do more of this because I feel I'm losing the muscle memory kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool, man.
But cool, yes.
Awesome. So another 5 shows coming up.
Yes.
Hopefully we see some of the Yalabat listeners there. It's always nice the past few nights when we come out, they're cheers, man.
Yeah. And we are able to look at a little bit in the audience and everything. Right?
Yeah.
So when we do point out there, we're hoping people do notice and they cheer out and everything.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Cool.
Awesome, everyone. So remember, follow us on social media, and if you want to work with us,
please email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just check out ministryoffunny.com.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to y'all soon.